Hey guys, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and I drive by this all the time, this little spot here. And I just started noticing that these little yellow flowers are everywhere. And I find it just truly beautiful. And it's a little too noisy here for my taste for videos, and I'm really sorry that, I'm bringing you to such a noisy spot, and all that background noise is going to be probably a little bit distracting. But this view was so pretty, I just had to do my shot here. I was really compelled to walk down here and just get right snuggled up next to these pretty yellow flowers. And I think I just needed something really beautiful to look at while I talk about this reading, because this reading to me is a very compelling reading. I thought about it all day. It's funny, I couldn't let June in. And then once I let it in and once I could connect with its energy, all I can think about is the energy of this new moon. And I really deeply think that the reason why I'm so drawn to this energy is because there's a lot of instability in this in this new moon. I'm going to give you I just want to give you a snapshot of the energy. So we have a new moon that's going to be in Gemini. It's going to be conjunct with Mercury in Cancer. It's going to square Neptune in Pisces, which is getting ready to retrograde, by the way. It is going to square Chiron in Aries, and it is going to quincunx Pluto in Capricorn, which is in retrograde. So one of the things I immediately felt was the duality of this moon and the past and the current energy colliding and creating some very complex circumstances. And these complex circumstances resonate from, you've got the intellectual mind engaged, but you also have an emotional undercurrent in this energy. And so when that happens, what comes up is just some very intense, deep, suppressed, ingrained, maybe some family dynamic or some ingrained programming that really pops out its head. Now, I felt like there was something really beautiful and new in your life, but there is something in the background, in the past, in some sort of karmic journey that you've been on for some time, that rears its ugly head when something new and exciting comes around and something new stimulates you, or you think of it in a new way. This could be something as simple as you're moving on with your life, you've created some new exciting circumstances in your life, and it's generating a lot of stimulating energy. But there is this hold of something from your past that is just, it's latched onto you, and it needs to be worked out and then let go and released. That's what I felt from this new moon. I felt like there's a flipping back and forth of what's new and right in front of you and exciting and fresh and stimulating, but there's a hold to the past still, and there's that familiarity. So anytime you get into the Cancer energy, You get stuck in what's familiar, what's comfortable, what's even if what's familiar and comfortable is detrimental, it's still familiar, and new is new. New is unpredictable. It's there's no comfort and peace and security in something that's brand new, because it has an unpredictable outcome. And so I think there's a lack of confidence that I felt in this energy to really follow through on whatever is like fresh and exciting right now. There's just this, like, as new and exciting and progressive as this energy is. Now that would be the Mars in Aquarius energy, getting ready to retrograde as well this month. There is something that doesn't allow that progression. It halts it, it stops it. And I think it has a lot to do with how your ego is looking at the situation. So I did a reading. I pulled a couple cards to try to see if I could feel this energy better when I was having a difficult time feeling this energy. And what came up for me was the Two of Pentacles upright and then the Emperor in reverse. And then I was like, oh, I understand now. I get it. So I want to talk about this, and I'm really going to read this from my paper because I sat with this for probably 3 days, just feeling what I felt from those cards. I looked at them multiple times a day. I carried them around on my phone, thinking about the squares and quincunx in this energy, and the fact that these very intense energies, Pluto, Chiron, and Neptune in Pisces, and this retrograde energy, I just started thinking about the square, the opposition, the resistance to this new moon, and why. Why are we resisting it? So the Two of Pentacles upright to me symbolized that these challenges are not new challenges. You've been through these challenges before. And this is an ingrained lesson. You've been on this journey for a while, but it's like elusive. The solution is elusive to you. It's still a little suppressed. But this lesson you've learned a long time ago. So I think one of the things that comes up from the past is just the solution to what has been making you unhappy in this particular area. And you'll know what area this is when your thoughts center around it. Now you got to think about this. When you have the moon, when you have a new moon, you have the sun and the moon, and they align. So you have your emotions and what you center yourself aligning right now, conjunct with the way that you think. So you know what this is regarding. This is very, very personal. And it is in your inner circle, your innermost circle. It's in your family. It's in your home. It's in where you recharge or how you recharge yourself. It's very, very deeply personal. So when you're dealing with something on that magnitude, and you've got Gemini energy, or can make this, especially when you got a Gemini, sun and moon, is what makes those things particularly hard to process, is there's just a flipping back and forth between something. And that's why the Two of Pentacles was so perfect to draw. I think that this is an infinite life lesson. This is your karmic journey. There is I've thought about the ebb and flow of energy when I thought about this particular new moon. It's like you get ahead and then you dip behind, and then you get a little ahead in your life and then you fall backward, and you keep doing this to yourself, or somebody in your family does it to you, or somebody that you deeply care about does this, or maybe or you think you're getting ahead with them and then you guys fall backward and you decline again, and then you get ahead and then you decline. That's the way I felt. I also felt the tide of emotions in this. There's an up and down. There's an inconsistency in the motions. So it's not a steady, it's not a steady emotion. There's no balance in it. There's just up and down, and that will come with Gemini energy, just the duality, especially if you're not a mutable sign, especially if you're not used to processing two sides to everything. It's a very difficult energy to feel, because it can be very confusing when you're looking at so many variables to the situation, and many of them make sense, right? I thought it felt when I started feeling the Emperor's energy and he was in reverse, I felt like this is ego. This is ego, and you're not strong in your ego about this particular thing. This is something that gets to you. It gets way below the surface. And when you process something that gets so far below the surface, it's uncertain, right? There's an uncertainty about it and an instability about it. And when you are an emperor, you are the leader. You call the shots. Like, you are in charge. You're not uncertain. You're absolutely directional and certain when you're the emperor. But when you're the emperor in reverse, you're uncertain. There's a variable about this situation that leaves you a little uneasy. Now, for some of you, that could just be the simple, a change. It could be something that's changed in your circumstance, but not something that you resonate with. And it could just mean that it's so new and so exciting, and it's really pulling you far away from something in your past where you had really invested a lot of time. And as you're moving forward, you're moving further away from that thing in your past. I felt that immensely in this energy. And there was like a reluctance to do it. And sometimes when Gemini energy gets uncertain, it's indecisive. It's not directional. It's counterproductive. It thinks about too many things, and it considers so many variables that it just ends up not making a decision at all, because there's too much stimulation, right? So my recommendation would be in this energy is to pull this all back a little and to simplify it. And when you start feeling this resistance in this new moon and this squaring and this quincunx with Pluto, and it's feeling very depleting and fear-based and very intense to feel, I would say that you just Gemini it. And the way that Geminis do is they just walk away from the situation for a while. You don't have to make a decision about anything right now. If you are at all confused, and if you're scared, and if you're uncertain, and you don't know what direction you want to take this situation, then the best thing to do is to back off and distract yourself with other things, and you will figure this out, and you will reverse the Emperor's energy, and your ego will just, what I would really do is just concentrate on getting your ego strong, whatever that is for you. If it's working out, if it's, for me it's hiking, if it's, you know, like hanging out with your friends, if it is really centering yourself around your family and just focusing on your family and not so much on everything else, there's nothing wrong with that. While you try to figure out what this message is, what the meaning of this new moon was for you, just take the time to do it. I feel like what can happen from this energy is there is a very rebellious feeling with this energy as Mars in Aquarius gets prepared to go in reverse. An Aquarian energy doesn't like to do anything in reverse. It is a forward, strong, force to be reckoned with energy. It is the future. It is not about the past. There is a big resistance to feeling a Mars in Aquarius / Capricorn retrograde, and you're feeling it, and it can make you just downright, especially if confronted, especially if you're hearing a lot of, if people are talking about it and you're not agreeing with it, or they're not agreeing with you, or the conversations are not going in the direction that you want, or they're not stimulating, then what could really start to happen with you is you can just become rebellious, confrontational, dismissive. You could say things you don't mean in this new moon. New moons bring new energy. And that can be whether or not it's in a negative energy, a negative vibration, or a positive energy. New energy is new energy. So if you've been stagnant in an area, well, sometimes you've got to be shoved or pushed to a point to where you finally say things that you should have said a long time ago. Confronted situations, dealt with situations, you know, say it like it is, and not, not pussyfoot around the subject. I mean, that's definitely not a Gemini. They don't pussyfoot around anything. They do, like, when they want something, they do say things in a very eloquent way, and they do formulate their words to get what they want. But if in a negative vibration, if they start to get angry, or if they feel pushed before they're ready, or if they feel like people just are not getting on board with their thought process, or they're just getting really bored, they just really say some very uncouth things that you just shouldn't say, like they're not appropriate. And so that's very possible in this I don't want to say this is an explosive energy, because internally I think this, and this is so gorgeous, so I have to show you this right, that sky up there, because it's getting ready to sunset here. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can. Just so pretty. In fact, the sky is so gorgeous right now. I don't know how well this will get picked up on my camera. It's pretty. I'm shivering a little bit because I'm starting to get cold. I'm by this pond and it's getting chilly. I really want you to see that flower. So I'll let you do this for a little bit. Sorry, I'm going to wiggle this for a minute while I rest my arms. I do think if somebody is trying to, sorry about that. but you can hear them. I was trying to let you guys listen to the toad in here, or the bullfrog. He is so loud. I don't know if you can hear him. I hope you guys can. I think that if somebody tries to push you and tries to get you to conform and tries to bully you with words, or like change the way that you feel about something, wow, is this not the new moon for that? This new moon means new business, man. It's like it refuses to be conformed and told what to do, which could lead to a very big change of circumstances, because it could just let the cat out of the bag, or it could reveal the way that you really feel. It could have some very intense ramification, which could then bring in, remember, something always has to end for something new to come into your life. That is the ebb and flow in energy as well. Something has to decline so something can regrow. I think that if somebody's trying to push you and change your circumstance too soon, you are going to push back in this energy. And I want to say that with your ego being so sensitive and your sense of self being so sensitive, I would just warn you to use your words wisely, because words are just those things that you can't take back. The way that you communicate and try to let people know that you're not receptive is an art, and it is something that you learn as you grow, but it's not something that is instinctual. That's something that through wisdom and life experience and interaction with people that you really truly understand the power of the way that you communicate and the way that it's received. I would just be mindful that planets are going to be going into retrograde, and one of them is a deeply personal planet. One of them is the way that we move forward, the way that our stamina, the way that we endure things, the way that we find determination in our soul to like persevere. And that's going to go into retrograde, but it's in Aquarius. So when it's in Aquarius, and I don't know if you've ever seen an Aquarius that doesn't get their way, but whoa, holy crap. Like, that is one firestorm that you're getting yourself into if you push them before they're ready, if you confront them, if you try to conform them. You are going to get one hell of a fight on your hands, because they absolutely refuse to be ordinary and confined and restricted into a set of rules that society sees as acceptable. They are there to break the boundaries, to break the molds. That is where a creation does not come from the way things have always done. Creation comes from something new. It comes from a completely new concept, new idea, and unique belief system. That you can create something from nothing. And I believe that, Aquarius energy stands for astrology. It represents astrology. Came up with this concept that we like to listen to. So if you're going to try to get it to conform to some conventional conservative mindset, you're going to be in for a fight, especially if it's in reverse, because it's not in its highest vibration, it's in its weakest state. And I feel like that is what this is about, is that your ego is in a weakened state, your mind is in a weakened state, your emotions are in a weakened state, you're tired, you're wore out, you're trying to just catch a break. You really just want the world to lighten up, and you really just want it to be he flew off. He was so pretty, but he scared the tar out of me. Oh, I've said enough about this new moon. I feel like I've communicated effectively as much as I can about the new moon, because this is one of those new moons where there is no predictability, there is no stability, there is no way to rationally wrap your head around this, because this is going to be an internal process. So everybody wraps their head around their internal processing very differently. But it all stems down to a lot of ingrained programming and the way that you were brought up to process things. You can hear the bullfrog again. It's funny. Actually, that's a mating call. It's kind of cool. It's really pretty here. I'm glad I picked this spot. It's such a beautiful, peaceful spot. I mean, I know that there's a lot of cars going by, but that's just Gemini energy, just always moving, going. There's always a lot of distractions, a lot of things that you're taking in your environment. At the same time, you're trying to find your peace and trying to find your happiness and trying to find your balance. You know, you're really having to deal with that there is an external environmental situations. You're always distracting your thoughts and keeping you from doing the internal processing that you have to do about situations. So maybe this is why this spot picked me. But anyhow, I hope you guys have a new moon. Don't let this energy be overwhelming to you. What you want to do is learn to recognize that there are squares and a quincunx coming in your new moon, so that when you go to say that thing, that if you're just fed up, if you're just mad, if you just want to talk about something, you might think twice about the resistance and I'm sorry, I'm shivering. But you might think about the resistance that might be met with some of your words, and you might try to choose them wisely. See, the only reason why you hopefully listen to these particular readings is because they're warnings. They're just like, or they're, hey, this is the right time to do it, or hey, this is the wrong time to do it. And this new moon is really, I want you guys to understand the squares and the quincunx in this new moon. So if you're met with some resistance or something that just doesn't feel right, or you're starting to process stuff on an emotional level and you don't know where it's coming from, well, you know, it's just energetic. You know, ebb and flow. It comes and it goes, and it'll go. Anyhow, you guys have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you guys again real soon.